Well, I've been with Tama Drums for 28 years. I've never left a company I've been with. Right now, I'm using the Babinga wood and the maple series. Both are amazing. They're totally different sounds. Some people like the maple. Maple's a little bit warmer. It's got attack, but it's got some warmth to it. The Babinga wood is much harder. It's very aggressive. When I go in a recording studio, most of the time I start with the Babinga. I use a 24 by 14 Babinga kick drum. I like the 24-inch height or height drum head size of the drum because it gives a lot of low end. The 14 makes it a little bit tighter sounding because the bigger the space inside the drum, when you stick a mic in it, the bigger you have a bigger area for the mic to get a lot of boomy sounds. And if you're playing on records with lots of instruments, you need to have control of that. So when I have a shorter drum but yet a big drum, you got a low end but with some control. And the Babinga wood, they both sound great in the studio. Babinga wood's a little more aggressive. It cuts through, punchier. But both these shells are great. It also has to do with the engineer too. It also has to do with the way you tune and the way you play. Every drummer, like in other words, I could sound like Kenny Aronoff on any drum set I hit because the way I hit. But anyway, so then I'm well known for the 12-10 combination up top or 13-10. My first rack tom is bigger than my second rack tom. That's something I started in 1982. Just John Mellencamp wanted a small one rack tom, one floor tom, but as I started doing more and more recording with 4 toms, I added the other tom, but I put the smaller one there because that's the least used. So I go 12, 10, 14, 16, sometimes 16, 18, but mostly 12, 10, 14 by 14 floor, 16 by 16 floor, because I like the floors to have big sound. And I've now gone to using legs. I used to hang them, but I like the legs. Mostly because you can move them real quick. If you make some adjustments, you want to make some adjustments, you can just move them by just moving them. Because they're 14 by 14, 16 by 16, you got more, the legs don't muffle the drum. Originally I thought, when you use the shorter drum, I thought, well, the legs are kind of muffling the drum, so I'll hang them. But because I have the long drums, shells, the legs don't affect it whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it helps control the ring between the 2 toms. Snare drums, I have my own signature series. It's a brass shell, hand engraved. Well, the limited edition was hand engraved, but they're engraved. I didn't know they're all hand engraved. I thought for a minute there, I thought they were using a machine. All hand engraved. It's a brass shell with a black nickel plating, I think, and then they engrave through it. Basically, it's based on the old Ludwig Black Beauties. It's a warm, but yet very powerful cracking sound. And I have a 5 by 14, a traditional snare drum, which I carry 4 of them. You can tune real low with a Remo Emperor 2-ply head, put tape on it, and it sounds like a fat drum. A good drum will sound good no matter where you tune it. So if you put on a 2-ply head, tune it way down and put tape on it, you got a fat snare drum. Then you tune it with a coated ambassador, which is a 1-ply head, and you have your standard tuning, which gives it a nice open sound. Then you can go up high, and now you get the cracking sound I used to get right before you choke it, which is what I used to get with the Mellencamp records, and then you tune it super high, and now you got the Stuart Copeland thing. I also have a 6.5 by 14, which is like the John Bonham size, which right now I use more as my starting snare drum in the studio. And then I have a very unique size, which is a 4-inch depth by 15, which is modeled after a 1920s, old 1920s Black Beauty or brass snare. But, you know, I use, like with John Fogerty, and in a lot of sessions, I'll use the 22 by 18 kick drum, which 22 is a smaller head size and longer depth, and you get your low end from the depth. 18 inches, 22-inch head size gives you a little bit more focus and point and punch. Cymbals, Zildjian cymbals, I use everything. But right now, I'm into their new series, the Rezos or Rezos, and they're really cool. I like a 21-inch ride cymbal. Live, I use 19-19-19 or 19-19-20. In the studio, I use go 18-18-19. really big into 15-inch hi-hats. I love 15-inch hi-hats. For me, the reason why I like the 15-inch hi-hats is that when you've got the 14-inch hi-hats sound great, but I find the 15s round out the kit better. Like I was in Nashville doing this record, this Jake Owen record, and typically you don't use 15-inch hi-hats in Nashville, but I was listening to the record, I noticed that the guitars, the frequencies of the guitars and the hi-hats were all in the same range, and they were kind of canceling each other out. And also I felt like the hi-hats were here and the drum kit was here. They were separated. So I asked her if I could overdub the track again with 15-inch hi-hats. And all of a sudden you got a lower frequency and you could hear the three guitars, pedal steel and violin better, and the hi-hats kind of bled into the drum set, and it sounded like a much more complete sound. So yeah, Remo drum heads, coated ambassadors usually on the top, clear ambassadors on the bottom. That's my standard thing. When I go out on tour, typically we'll go to a 2-ply head. The Remo coated Emperor or clear Emperor, which is a 2-ply. On the snare drum, when I play in the studio, coated ambassadors, it's a single ply, sometimes with a black dot for the deeper drum, and then live I definitely go to a 2-ply Emperor heads, otherwise I'll crush him. Let's see, Vic First sticks, I have my own signature model, which is kind of like it's a 5B that's beefed up. When I joined the Smashing Pumpkins, I decided to go from my original stick size, which was a much thicker stick, and brought that same shape and profile down to a 5B, so that I could play with a little bit more speed, and that became the standard stick. Let's see, I play vinyl percussion. I have my own cowbells, 2 sizes, the big and smaller one, and Shure microphones. You know, this is most of the equipment I use. What I do live is I put a D drum trigger on the bass drum, and then I have a 16-channel mixer behind me, a Mackie 16-channel mixer. So during a show, I can make mixing adjustments while I'm playing. Like I have the lead singer vocal, I have the lead, all the guitar players. By the time I turn around and start complaining about my mix, it's easier for me to just turn around and make the adjustments. I have a stereo mix coming in from the monitor guy of the band, or of everything but everything that's not in my fader. There's 2 ways to do it. You can have the mixer, the monitor guy send you a stereo mix, left to right of everything, and then you have individual faders. Like I'll have the D drum trigger sound, my natural kick sound, snare drum in one channel, or snare drums in one channel, toms in one channel, each guitar player, bass player, click like an SR16 drum machine for if I need to count off tunes, vocals, keyboards, everything right there. So anyway, the D drum trigger is up on a fader, and I can mix that sampled sound, which is very aggressive and EQ'd very high, in with my natural kick drum. Then I send that D drum trigger from the auxiliary send in the mixer to an amplifier that goes to a butt kicker, which is basically a piston. It's supposed to sit behind you, but I put it right between my legs so I can feel it better. And when I kick the kick drum, I get right into my body. So and then I have a sub behind me. So I've got 4 versions of kick drum coming at me.